The only good thing out of parliament is when you go there when it's sitting, is to seeing 4 big cars, 4x4s, fuel guzzlers, which are fuel using our taxpayers' money. They are walking there with their fat stomachs, laughing at poor Kenyans as they walk into the chambers to say nonsense.
Well, a very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Candid Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. Such a pleasure to always have you on board on Kenya's most comprehensive political and public governance analysis show. This fine afternoon, I'm joined here by Wakili Willis Otieno. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes.
I want us to look at what is actually been the talk of town here with regards to our governance structure. And one of the key components of our governance is the parliament, the National Assembly therein. A lot of questions have been asked on its independence and its functionality right now. During the kind of the last retreat that the government had in Naivasha, a number of assertions were made by the president telling the parliamentarians therein to toe the line. And of course, this did not actually go well with a number of people saying, who are you to give demands to the parliament? I think the parliament should be independent. A number of Kenyans were asking such kind of questions, and of course I even saw a number of senators alluding to the fact that we are not actually headed to the right direction, if at all this is what actually the president can take. What do you make of the president's assertions with regards to the functioning of the National Assembly?
You know, the structure of government that we have recognize that parliament is meant to be independent.
Yes.
And it is an independent arm of government. Independent of who? The greatest threat to parliament is the executive. That is why in the structure of our constitution, we want to make it independent. The first independence is independent from the executive. But this 13th parliament is the worst in the history of parliamentary politics in this country. Because it is the most useless parliament, in my view. They are not able to represent their people. Because parliament has only 3 main roles: legislation, representation, and oversight. They are meant to oversight the executive. They are meant to represent their people. And they are meant to make laws. Look at oversight. This parliament cannot carry out an effective oversight of the executive. They are being directed by the executive on what to do, and they do it. So oversight function has failed. Look at representation. This parliament, 13th parliament, when it comes up with proposals are made to make certain laws, they go out to public participation. People tell them what they want. On the housing levy, over 90% of the memorandum they received rejected that housing levy. They decided to ignore. They did not represent the views of their people. So the representation angle of parliament has failed. Then we have legislation. They are making laws that are causing more pain to Kenyans. Instead of making laws that are meant to alleviate the suffering that Kenyans are going through. So even legislation has failed. In fact, nowadays we have Kenyans just waiting for parliament to pass a law, then they go to court. And all those laws are being declared unconstitutional. So this is the worst. It is the worst. Even Moi's Mlolongo Parliament of 1988 was better compared to this one. That cannot stand up to even out of the 3 core functions of parliament, articulate and persevere. I mean, live up to one. Because they are now under the whims and control of the executive. All they care about is their per diems and salaries. You saw them the other day passing motion to give them a cushion over the housing levy. So who is going to give Kenyans a cushion for this increased taxation?
Okay.
They are giving themselves. This parliament, even their own CDF, illegal as it is, they have not been receiving their disbursements in time. Nil by mouth. They make noise, shout for TV. Then, nothing. They're summoned. This parliament, you saw some members from Muranga here. Even the deputy president, Gachagua, supported the finance bill to a hilt. They supported all those new charges that are being levied on farmers in the finance bill. Then when they send KRA officers to the avocado farmers in Muranga, they are now there standing trying to pretend we will not collect tax.
Actually, we saw that.
Why? Those KRA officers were simply following what you had passed in parliament. Why are you now standing in a public forum telling us that you cannot collect tax on avocado produce?
Okay.
That's why I'm saying it's the most useless. The most useless in the history of Kenya. So I will never even waste my time if you ask me to engage with this parliament as an institution.
Okay. So my question would be, of course, the members of parliament in question here, the ones you're talking about, the very ones who actually passed the finance bill.
Yes.
And then when they realized that there are certain punitive taxes here that do not resonate well with their people, they went ahead and said that they'll oppose these things. Now, as these some of the things that make you feel that perhaps the parliament is remotely controlled from the House on the Hill.
That's what I'm saying. That finance bill was sent by the executive. The executive knew what they were doing. If parliament was performing its oversight, legislation, and representation function effectively, they will have known what the people's feelings are on increasing these levies or imposing these charges on avocado farmers. Those members could even have proposed amendments to the bill before it was passed. They could have said, no, this is going to hurt our farmers. We reject it. They didn't. In fact, they voted wholesome for the bill, as it were.
Okay.
Then now they come to cry crocodile tears with the poor farmers in Muranga. Those people don't belong to leadership here. 13 as a number I've always had in America jurisprudence is a cursed number. I now believe it. This 13th parliament is the most confused parliament in the history of Kenya. It cannot live to its mandate. I now believe 13th has a problem. And that 13th is this parliament. Because otherwise, what good has come out of parliament since it came? The only good thing out of parliament is when you go there when it's sitting, is to see 4 big cars, 4x4s, fuel guzzlers, which are fuel using our taxpayers' money. They are walking there with their fat stomachs, laughing at poor Kenyans as they walk into the chambers to say nonsense, not to represent the people who elected them to those offices. We must call bullshit when it's being served. This parliament is bullshit, and this parliament has failed the people of Kenya. And if the individual members of this parliament who have done a stellar work, they should be loud about it and call out their colleagues, because they are members of that parliament who've been forthright, who try to stand with the people of Kenya. They should not be judged by association. They should call out those their colleagues who are perpetuating this arbitrary tyranny and tell them what you're doing is bullshit.
Okay.
But if they keep quiet, then they are guilty by association. We need to hear more and more voices coming from even that house, condemning that parliament, saying this parliament is a bullshit parliament. And they should say it from the floor of the house. They should tell it to those other people, to their face. If I ever went to parliament, even to represent anything, that's the only thing I would say. You're all bullshit.
Okay. Anyway, those are your words, Wakili. But here we are. The question of institutional independence was actually posed to the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Masika Wetangula, at the beginning of this year. That is before Parliament actually resumed its sessions therein. And he said that those who are outside there who think that there is some sort of interference on how the Parliament actually conducts its duties are totally wrong, and those assertions are misplaced. He said that he's never even received any single call from anybody whatsoever to conduct any favor to anybody, and he insists that the Parliament is independent. Look at some of the decisions that the Speaker has made so far. Do you buy the same kind of argument? Argument that is from him?
Parliament pronounces itself through motions and bills.
Yes.
That's how it communicates. Give me that one motion or that one bill that they have passed that is incorporating the people's agenda. Just give me one. The facts speak for themselves. All the bills and motions they have passed have ended up causing us pain as a people. So why should we listen to platitudes?
But how does that have any kind of direct correlation with the
Of course, the
executive
bills that are causing this pain are presented by the executive. It is the executive that keeps increasing taxes. It's the executive that keeps increasing levies. They are the ones who generate the bills, take them to Parliament. Parliament just votes like a robot. It seems like common sense is taken outside. They leave it at St. John's before they enter the chambers. Then they walk there with empty heads. Because if there was people who are genuinely representing their people, they will interrogate these bills that are brought by the executive.
Okay.
Flesh out what is wrong with some of them. Make the engagement to be constructive. That, okay, this is good, this is bad. Remove the bad, retain the good. Or improve on this bad one this way, so that you can get a benefit. Win-win for the people of Kenya. But they don't. They vote wholesome as it is presented. So Speaker Wetangula can speak as much as he wants. But we will not judge Parliament based on the statement that is made by the Speaker. We will judge Parliament based on the bills that they vote on. So that is what actually ends up affecting our lives. In fact, if you go to Parliament, most of the times when they're talking, they're just cheating each other there. Ultimately, what matters is the bill. This finance bill that says increase tax by this much. This affordable housing bill that says levy this much. This Chief Act that says increase. That is all we look at. Because that is what the language of Parliament is spoken through bills and motions. Bills that become acts of Parliament, that becomes laws that affect our lives. That is what we look at. What's the quality of legislation that has come out of Parliament? The net effect of those legislations. Have they improved our lives? Or have they retrogressed our lives? Have they made our pain less or more? The sum total is that all the bills that have come out of that Parliament have caused us pain. Period. So that is all I'm going to use to judge them. I not judge them by political statements they make, but I'll judge them by whether they put the executive on oversight. They've not. When you have ministers abusing Kenyans here, engaging in acts that are constitutional, not even a censor motion. Even they summon ministers and governors themselves. They refuse to go. They do nothing about it. They can't even just penalize a minister or a governor who fails to attend to summons. They are useless. Someone to their own meeting. I mean, someone who cannot even enforce a summons to his own meeting. You expect him now to come up with things that are going to benefit you. Yeah? They remind me of the last Parliament when Rai went to Parliament to be questioned. The thing turned into members of Parliament almost licking his hands. Instead of engaging in the debate of the day, the sugar issue. They were all just frolicking over themselves like little children, looking for lollipops from grandfather. So the quality of our representation has gone down. And it's not I don't believe that is the true representation of Kenyans. They don't represent what Kenyans believe in. Because the Kenyans I interact with on the streets are hardworking Kenyans. They are Kenyans of goodwill. Kenyans who want the best for this country. Kenyans who just want systems that work. Kenyans who are tired of a failed political system. A political system that has maintained a stranglehold over the necks of Kenyans and is strangling them, breathing life out of them for the last 60 years. I don't think that is what this Parliament represents. This Parliament is now the worst. And it's time we will have a conversation as a people. If we want to continue with more of the same, or we want to change the trajectory of this country. A trajectory that will change it for the better that will make the people's agenda the core agenda that anybody holding a public office should be focused on. The sum total of your existence in public office should be, at the end of this year, at the end of this term, I have improved the lives of Kenyans the following way. The quality of life for Kenyans have significantly increased. But it can't be that you are using the same political system that every year the sum total is we have more unemployed graduates than we had last year. More Kenyans are dying of preventable diseases than they were last year. More Kenyans are dying in road accidents this year than they were last year. More Kenyans are going through depression than they were last year. More Kenyans are committing suicide this year than they were last year. It means the system has collapsed, has failed. It is no longer about the people. And we must now turn this to be about the people's agenda.
Questions have been asked about the kind of function, how actually the executive arm of the government and the judiciary and the National Assembly should actually work harmoniously to ensure that services are delivered to the people. While addressing members of parliament, the president actually told them that do not wait for any government. You are the government here. You're the government here, and actually he tried to intimate that they should actually be speaking the same language. How dangerous is this narrative of the executive arm of the government and the National Assembly speaking the same language?
You see, that's the point that I was making. Parliament needs to know its role. And it has no business being with the executive. There's no business. Its work is to oversight the executive. So why should they be speaking the same language? It's like telling a policeman that you should be speaking the same language with the criminals. Yeah, because oversight who? The police exists because we want to maintain law and order. A recognition that there are people who are who are hell-bent to break the law.
Okay.
So we want to oversight them. The executive is known that they'll be arbitrary and abuse their executive powers. So we put a parliament to oversight them. So when you talk about speak the same language, same language of arbitrary execution of duties, they can never speak the same language. One is a criminal or potential criminal, the other one is a policeman. When they start speaking the same language, then there's total breakdown of governance. That is what we are witnessing. Our parliament and the executive are speaking the same language. So there's no oversight. There's no representation. Legislation is not meant to serve the people. It's meant to serve the executive. And the executive has gone rogue. And they have gone rogue with a rogue parliament.
Okay. Can you then comfortably say that even our parliament has also led us to where we are right now? Of
course. This parliament has led us, it has contributed. The greatest cheerleader of executive malfeasance today is parliament. Parliament is the greatest cheerleader of executive malfeasance. They are aiding and abetting the breakdown of this society.
Okay.
And I've said, put a caveat, within the institution, there are individuals who may not agree with what is happening. It is onerous upon them to speak up and to call bullshit when it's being said.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been a conversation on how best the parliament can actually function. Now, weighing on this conversation, tell us, what do you think about how our National Assembly has actually conducted itself so far with regards to how it relates with the executive arm of the government therein? Allow me to stop this conversation at this particular moment, but please do not fail to catch up with some of our programs that will be coming up next. Jadel Kabiro is always here, as well as Richard Mwenja, and remember, Prof is also back on the channel. If at all you're watching us for the first time, kindly subscribe to this channel till we have this conversation again. My name is Evan Sokini. Thank you for watching.